Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Climate Pledge Arena, a net zero union-built structure that reflects our region's commitment to bold climate solutions. I'm King County Executive Dow Constantine, and I cannot wait until, what is it, Rob, next month, when we're in here for the first game of your Seattle Kraken. I want to thank our host, Rob Johnson, from Climate Pledge Arena and the Kraken. And I also want to make note of some other folks who are with us today, some of whom you'll be hearing from. Senator Liz Lovelad, Representative Jeanne Dewer, my colleague on the King County Council, Councilmember Jeanne Kohlwell. We have Kirkland Deputy Mayor Jay Arnold, Cassandra DeLon from the 2030 district, and there may be others who have joined us here today, and I want to make sure that I am able to recognize them all. You know, we are here at kind of the tail end of a summer that presented us with the hottest temperatures ever recorded in our region. An extreme heat event that resulted in at least 15 heat-related deaths in King County alone. The heat dome stressed our local hospitals that were already struggling with the COVID pandemic, and it killed an estimated 1 billion shellfish and other marine creatures. Scientific models, including the latest and very alarming United Nations climate report, consistently show that extreme heat events are not anomalies. They are proof that our region is experiencing climate impacts now. That's exacerbating as well racial inequities, putting people, our economy, and our environment at risk. I made climate action a priority of my administration because if we don't set and achieve very ambitious goals now, none of the rest of our work is going to matter. We have set our goal to cut greenhouse gas emissions countywide in half during this decade. And to get there, it will take each of us making greener choices. Choices in transportation, choices in daily living. But our built environment, the buildings and infrastructure that have grown up around this region over the course of a century and a half, those require reimagining as well. That's why with my 2020 Strategic Climate Action Plan, we are addressing the buildings where we live and where we work. And we're rethinking how to make them greener, how to make them more resilient, how to make them more energy efficient. Now that includes commercial buildings. And it's actually startling to recognize that the commercial buildings account for 22%, nearly a full quarter of all countywide greenhouse gas emissions. So there's only so much we can do as individuals. And while new buildings are built greener, for sure, because of the change in building codes and techniques, we have thousands of buildings, tens of thousands of buildings in the county that can be retrofitted now to save money, to create jobs, and to do their part to battle climate change. So that's why we're proposing a new program, a program that will offer low-interest financing from private lenders to make buildings throughout King County more sustainable and more resilient and more energy efficient. It's going to be a catalyst as well for good green jobs, advancing an equitable economic recovery, and we're going to offer all of that at no additional cost to taxpayers. So again, this is a program where we are able to create value without adding to the burden on taxpayers. And we'll offer it by capitalizing on the opportunity the state has created in this past legislative session. I want to thank the state legislature for its best session yet on climate and the environment. They authorized counties to offer this innovative program known as C-PACER. If approved by the County Council, more than 4,000 commercial and multifamily, industrial, and agricultural buildings will be eligible to get low-interest loans. And those loans can pay for projects to make new and existing structures more energy efficient and more resilient. The program will produce measurable results for generations to come. Now you're going to see more buildings that generate clean energy, that require less energy to heat and to cool and to light, that conserve water, that are powered by clean energy instead of by fossil fuels, and that are more resilient to earthquakes and to climate impacts. All of this is in addition to the work we're already doing to make access to energy-efficient green homes more equitable. And it complements the success we've had in making our own county facilities more energy efficient. But really, there is so much to do, and we are still just getting started. Over the next several months, we're going to announce a series of initiatives that will help us dramatically cut countywide greenhouse gas emissions. We will modernize building codes. We will continue electrifying the metro transit fleet. We will connect more people via rail and trail systems. And we can do more for residential buildings too. In my next budget that's going to be transmitted to the County Council next month, I'm proposing a pilot that will help in our unincorporated area where King County is the local government, help residents transition from oil and gas heating and in some cases cooling to modern energy efficient electric heat pumps. So what does that do? It helps people be able to deal with these more extreme weather conditions. And it reduces the amount of carbon being emitted in our region. It is an opportunity for us to make this kind of green conversion possible, not just for those who have the most, those who have the luxury of being able to finance big projects, but for working class and low-income residents of King County. For businesses, for homeowners, it is clear that there's no single solution to climate change. It demands a constellation of actions that contribute to safer and healthier and more sustainable communities and shape a better future for all of us. And that's for those of us who are here today, but particularly for those to whom we will leave this region. And that's not just our approach on climate solutions, that is our approach for everything that I am seeking to do as the executive of King County. I want to thank the partners and allies who've joined us today, and I look forward to working with each of you to achieve bold climate solutions. And now I'd like to introduce to you Rob Johnson. Rob, you might know him as former member of the Seattle City Council, but today he is Vice President of Sustainability and Transportation for the Seattle Kraken and Climate Pledge Arena. Rob.
Thank you. A real pleasure to host you all here today in front of the Climate Pledge Arena. The work that we're doing on the job site as the building gets set to open in October of this year has been a real wonderful labor of love, but it has been a real engineering challenge. It started by holding up that 44 million pound roof and digging a brand new arena underneath it. And in the middle of all that, we decided to make the Herculean effort of totally decarbonizing the building. We took all natural gas uses out of the building, whether that was for heating, whether that was for the hot water system, whether it was for the dehumidification system for the ice rink, and we converted all of those to electrical usage. We're installing solar panels on the roof of the atrium on the First Avenue garage across the street as part of our commitments to try to be the world's first net zero carbon facility. And we're doing a whole bunch of other capital innovations and operational innovations inside the building that we think are going to help reduce our emissions, and over time will also help the building operate at a lower operating cost. And all of this, I think, is an effort to try to really take the challenge of climate change seriously. We're at an inflection point. We have a critical decade in which to take action right now, which is why we're hoping to inspire others within the public and private sector to take this step to totally decarbonize their facilities as well. This single action that we took to take all the natural gas uses out of the building, convert them to electric, and totally electrify our facility was estimated by the city's environmental staff as reducing the carbon footprint of all city-owned facilities by 5%. It was the single largest action the city could have taken to meet its goal of having all of their facilities be carbon neutral. And we're so proud to have seen the legislature take similar action this year to incentivize private companies and individuals to take similar bold action. Nobody knows that better than the pride of Anacortes, Senator Liz Lovelad, who's going to come and talk to you a little bit about the work that the legislature did this year to introduce this critical financing tool that hopefully will be used by many, many more facilities all throughout King County. Senator Lovelad.
Hey there, everybody. I'm so thrilled to be here with you today. My name is Liz Lovelad. I represent the 40th District. I have the pleasure of representing the beautiful San Juan Islands and western portions of Skagit and Whatcom County. I live in Anacortes, but we have this incredible natural environment up there that we work so hard to maintain. But we need all hands on deck at every level of governance and every type of building to make sure that we are hitting those energy goals over time. So I was first introduced to this legislation a few years ago with the help of incredible stakeholders, some of whom are here today, that helped as volunteers, as representatives from their organizations, wanting to get to the clean energy future that I think we all know we need to get to. And the legislature does this really incredible job of setting up the aspirational. We know where we need to get, but now with a program like CPACER, we have better tools to get there. I love the idea that this is not only a powerful financing tool, but brings together public and private financing in order to achieve those goals. Our commercial sector has so much carbon embedded in it, and this is one really powerful step in the right direction to make sure that over time we can draw that carbon back out of our buildings. Woo! There goes the fountain. You gotta love that. So that we can get to our goals. I have been very blessed on this journey, not only to have incredible advocates and stakeholders who basically wrote the book on how to implement this. Our original bill had the fiscal note vetoed, and we had this group come together in order to enable the counties to adopt this and be able to make these dreams come true. I do hope to see this happen as well on the residential side so that we can continue to decarbonize each building one at a time. I'm very blessed to have a partner in this work in Representative Davina Dewer. She came in last session with just incredible energy about how to work in the building spaces. And together we're going to continue to work on land use, water management, all of the fun infrastructure projects. And I'm thrilled to have been able to learn about her professional acumen and the ability for us to come together and collaborate. And again, I just want to underscore, not only did we have these advocates that came in, but I really think this is emblematic of the ability for all levels of governance to come together to work towards our common goals at the city, at the county, at the state, and at the federal level. We have to have everybody rowing in the same direction on climate change. So with that, I will pass it over to my partner in crime, Representative Davina Dewer.
All right, get your laughs over with. Hi, my name is Davina Dewer. I'm a representative from the 1st District, which is mainly Bothell, King County Bothell, Mountlake Terrace, and parts of Kirkland. And 100 years ago when I started in the legislature, I really didn't know the power of what we could accomplish. My story kind of goes back a ways, but when I was in college studying architecture, a professor kind of gave me a reality check and saying that the building industry was the #1 pollutant, material usage, energy usage sector in among all of them. And I really struggled to reconcile how to be an architect and an environmentalist. And circled back, and apparently it works quite well in the legislature to have a little bit of knowledge about architecture and try to save the planet at the same time. So this legislation is really, I think, a game changer for moving forward, not just on climate, but also resiliency. And as has been described by previous speakers, it's a tool by which we can make it more attainable for building owners to get low-cost loans to make investments in their buildings, whether it be for energy upgrades or seismic upgrades. All of those things are important because commercial property owners typically only own their buildings for 5 years, and they don't usually want to make the sort of investment that it takes to make their buildings better. And with this program, they're immediately able to reap the benefits of making upgrades, but over the long term, the loan travels with the building and not the owner. And so loans will be taken out that might not otherwise have been taken out. For instance, I believe Seattle alone has 1,000 unreinforced brick masonry buildings that in an earthquake are a real danger. And so the ability for those owners to go out and get a loan to upgrade their buildings is good for all of us. In the event of an earthquake, which we know will eventually come, all those buildings will be that much safer. And so this program, it's exists already in 25 states, and as I said, it saves money for taxpayers aren't paying for it. It's really a program, and so it works quite well in those 25 states, and I'm anxious to see how well it works in King County and the rest of Washington State. So thank you.
So again, I want to make note of the fact that we're joined by Jeanne Kohlwell. Jeanne's the chair of the County Council Budget Committee, and she's been tremendously busy over the course of the last 2 years with many supplemental budgets that we've sent to deal with the COVID crisis. But she's also been a leader in the legislature and at the county on environment, and I want to thank her for being here with us today. And also, I mentioned earlier Jay Arnold. Jay is the deputy mayor of the city of Kirkland, and he's also been a leader on the King County Cities Climate Collaboration, which is an organization where we invite city leaders, elected officials, as well as port officials to join together to advance collectively our regional climate agenda. And that includes doing things like sharing local innovations that may be happening in one or another city, or as Jay has done, joining with other city officials to travel to Olympia to lobby for the kind of innovative legislation that we're celebrating here today. We have Rachel Brombaugh, who is the climate lead from the county, here to help answer questions. But I would be glad to try to fill in any more details that you might be interested in. Please. Okay, so the question was about incentives to get people to convert the built environment. So the impediment is the inability to get the money up front to do things that ultimately are not just good for the environment, but actually save you money. And that is a problem in single-family homes, as we all know, and it's also a problem in commercial buildings. And this measure is seeking to address that challenge in the commercial sector, to be able to free up money so that people can make the investments to modernize, to decarbonize, to make their buildings more earthquake-resistant, etc., which will save money, lives, the environment, etc., over the longer term. It is true that in the residential sector we need a set of incentives and technical assistance as well, so that people can begin to convert the existing home stock to being carbon neutral. Our sort of toe in the water on that is going to be this program where we're actually subsidizing the conversion to electric heat pumps, which will reduce the carbon load, especially if people are already using oil or gas to heat their home, and will increase the ability of people to have resilience during these heat events. I just want to go, at the risk of getting in over my depth here, I talk about how the CPACER program works. So a private lender will lend the commercial building owner money to do something like, convert the heating and cooling system or install more insulation, etc. The government will then record a lien to guarantee that loan repayment against the building. And that lien, as I understand it, will be superior to some of the existing loans that are already against the property, but you only do that with the permission of those other lenders. And the key is, as I understand it, having those lenders agree that this is a good thing to do because it will actually increase the value of the asset against which they are secured and improve the cash flow for the building, the ability of the building owner to make all of their loan payments. So it's a win for everyone in the system, but the government needs to be involved in it because of the way that the security against the real property title works. I hope I haven't butchered your legislation too badly with all that.
So if I could just follow up on that really quickly. When it comes to private homeowners, I feel like that might be a little bit more of a hurdle to get over. And I might be getting ahead of myself here, but because we're at such a critical point when it comes to the climate, is it possibly in our future that instead of trying to incentivize people to do it, it might eventually become a requirement for a home?
Well, and that's an important question because we're not going to be able to require people to go back and do massively expensive retrofits of their homes, which they can't afford. We would need to be able to provide them the tools to do that. But as we move forward, we're getting the low-hanging fruit first, which is first, new buildings need to be greener. Second, in the commercial sector, we have more sophisticated building owners and lenders and so forth, converting the existing built environment. Third, providing incentives, publicly financed incentives for individual homeowners to do conversions. But ultimately, we are going to have to get to the point in the built environment, just as we're doing in the transportation sector, where we can get to net zero carbon emissions. And it's going to be a big challenge for all of us, but the alternative is not an acceptable one.
I can add something.
Yes, please. This is Rachel Brombaugh, our climate lead for King County.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. Something that is looming on the horizon, it's a deliverable in our strategic climate action plan that Executive Constantine mentioned, that we're looking at to address the residential built environment. Now, I know that Senator Lovelad is interested in residential PACE, and if she wants to speak to that in more detail, I'll let her do that. But something we're looking at the local level is called residential point of sale energy disclosure. And we're just starting to research what's going on, but the mechanism there is that when someone wants to sell their home, they need to do some sort of audit or provide some sort of information to the buyer, who will then know what the systems are like and what the energy use profile is. We're thinking about how can we help educate and provide tools to buyers so that they can take those steps to maybe switch out that old furnace with a new heat pump or things like that to start to work on that existing built environment.
Yes, Senator.
Yes, our PACER, or another method that I've been talking about with the utilities, is on-bill financing. So one of the most critical challenges that we face when we deal with climate change is that we have very deep inequities in our communities around access to the technology. And until we put together justice around poverty, environmental justice, and put that together with our climate strategy, we cannot possibly get where we need to go. Affluent people can put solar panels on their house right now. They can drive a Prius and feel really good about it. And those are great steps forward. But for everyday folks that have to make long commutes, that have, terrible windows and doors and insulation, they're languishing in that poverty and that climate inequality. And I hope to continue to move forward so that we can get to a place where everyday people, where renters can have the ability to have those upgrades in the envelope of their homes to reduce energy. It's win-win. It's the right thing to do. It's the strategic thing to do. And I think there's a lot of different methods that we can use to get there.
Are there any other questions? Well, if not, I want to thank everyone for being here today, and I want to thank our legislators, of course, and I want to thank our friends from Climate Pledge Arena for hosting us and providing this beautiful decarbonized backdrop, and we're all looking forward, of course, to the first drop of the puck next month. Thank you, Rob, for having us, and thanks to everyone for being here today.